Before newspapers, television, or social media, one thinker asked a question that still feels modern. Why do societies rise, grow powerful, become comfortable, and then decline? His name was Ibn Khaldun, and his answer was not just about kings or armies. It was about the invisible force that holds people together: shared loyalty, shared identity, and collective trust. Production note: this episode is an original educational commentary on Ibn Khaldun and the history of communication thought. Visuals include AI-assisted historical illustrations created to support explanation. They are symbolic educational images, not documentary footage, authentic photographs, or exact reconstructions of historical events. The narration voice is AI-assisted. The narration script, structure, analysis, and educational framing are original. In this series, we usually think of communication through speeches, media, persuasion, and public opinion. Ibn Khaldun helps us widen that view. For him, society itself depends on communication. Stories of ancestry, loyalty, religion, honor, rumor, reputation, and political legitimacy. A dynasty does not survive only because it has soldiers. It survives because people believe in it together. Ibn Khaldun was born in Tunis in 1332, in a 14th-century world marked by plague, political fragmentation, and unstable dynasties. Across North Africa and Al-Andalus, ruling families competed for power, alliances shifted quickly, and cities moved between prosperity and crisis. He was not writing from a quiet library outside history. He lived through the age of the Black Death, the struggles of Maghrebi dynasties, and the political tensions of courts in places like Tunis, Fez, Granada, and Cairo. He worked as a court official, diplomat, advisor, and judge. He served rulers, negotiated power, faced danger, and watched how quickly loyalty could change. By the time he wrote the Muqaddimah in the late 14th century, these experiences had shaped one of his central insights. History is not just a record of events, but a pattern of social forces. Ibn Khaldun's most famous work is the Muqaddimah, often translated as introduction. But it was far more than a simple introduction. It asked how historians should judge evidence, why societies change, why cities become wealthy, and why ruling groups eventually weaken. In modern terms, Ibn Khaldun was asking, what are the social forces behind history? The key concept is Asabiyyah. It is often translated as group solidarity, social cohesion, or collective feeling. It means the bond that makes people act as we instead of only I. For Ibn Khaldun, this bond can create courage, sacrifice, discipline, and political power. Without it, a group may have wealth and buildings, but not the energy to survive. Asabiyyah is not only biological kinship or tribal bloodline, it is also built through communication. Groups become strong when they repeat shared stories, honor common symbols, protect reputations, and define who belongs. Every group needs a language of us. This is why Ibn Khaldun matters for communication theory. He shows that power begins before the official speech. It begins in the shared meanings that make people recognize one another as members of the same group. Ibn Khaldun saw a recurring pattern. A tough, united group rises from the margins. Its strong asabiyyah gives it discipline and courage. It conquers or replaces a weaker ruling group. Then, over generations, it becomes wealthy, urban, and comfortable. Luxury grows. Dependence grows. The original solidarity weakens. and eventually another group with stronger cohesion appears. A ruler does not rule by force alone. Rule also requires legitimacy. People must accept the story that this ruler has the right to command. That story may come from religion, ancestry, justice, military success, or public ritual. In this sense, political power is also communicative power. It depends on messages that persuade people to obey, trust, fear, admire, or identify. Ibn Khaldun was also suspicious of bad history. He warned that historians can repeat impossible stories, flatter rulers, or accept reports without asking whether they make social sense. His method was simple but powerful. Before accepting a story, ask whether it fits what we know about society, economy, geography, and human behavior. That is why the Muqaddimah still feels surprisingly modern. We can see a modern version of Asabiyyah everywhere. Political movements build it through slogans and symbols. Brands build it through identity and belonging. Online communities build it through memes, shared language, and inside jokes. Ibn Khaldun helps us ask, what stories make people act together? And when does shared identity become strong enough to change history? But Ibn Khaldun's theory also has limits. Not every society follows the same cycle. Not every political change can be explained by group solidarity alone. Economics, technology, law, religion, environment, and individual decisions also matter. His theory is powerful because it gives us a pattern. But a pattern is not the same as a complete explanation. Ibn Khaldun reminds us that communication is older than media technology. Before mass media, people communicated identity through family, tribe, religion, rumor, ceremony, law, and public memory. Before algorithms shaped attention, shared stories already shaped political life. And before modern sociology had a name, Ibn Khaldun was already asking how society holds together and why it falls apart. So, Ibn Khaldun's communication lesson is this: societies are not held together by information alone. They are held together by meanings people share, loyalties they perform, and identities they believe in. When those bonds are strong, groups can rise. When those bonds decay, power becomes fragile. That is why Ibn Khaldun remains one of history's most important thinkers for understanding society, power, and communication. This was Ibn Khaldun, the thinker who saw history as a pattern of social cohesion, power, and decline. In the next episode, we move to John Locke, a thinker who changed how we understand language, reason, consent, and public life. From Ibn Khaldun's world of collective belonging, we turn to Locke's question: how do individuals form judgment, share ideas, and build political society through communication? This is Communication Thinkers. Thanks for watching.